Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. It is Megan Holly, and we're here at Taking Flight again. And we hear it all the time. We hear that the things that we say and the words that we speak kind of mean something, right? I mean, obviously they mean something. But what I'm getting at there is they're powerful in kind of what we feel about ourselves, the world around us, the things that we do, and then also how we make other people feel. And the other day, I added a new word to my list that I've kind of started working to kind of eradicate, if you will, and kind of move out of my everyday language because I realize that it doesn't do us justice. And I'm going to go through some of the words that are kind of on my no-no list because they are something that I just don't feel serve kind of the mindset that I know that I want to be in on a regular basis. And then I want to make sure that when I'm speaking to others, I want to be a safe space. And so if some of these words could help or hinder somebody, I'm going to want to move into the help side of the way that I speak and interact and communicate with people. Because at the end of the day, the way we feel is kind of the way we operate. I've never really thought of it in that exact kind of way, but the way that we feel is the way that we operate. And we've all been there, a day when we wake up and we just feel from like the second we put our feet on the ground that we're kind of, we're not all there. We're a little bit lackluster. We're not feeling it. And then the day feels that way. Even if it's just one of those days where some fun things are happening, you kind of go through them, maybe not feeling your best because of how you feel. And sometimes we have control over that. Other times we don't. But what we do have control over is the things that we say, the things that we think, and then how we communicate with ourselves and others. And so I have 3 words in particular that are just, I don't think they don't serve the highest version of ourselves. And so I thought I'd throw this into an episode because I think it's kind of interesting to think about in this way, for one, but then also just to kind of keep the conversation going, I suppose, on the ways that we are kind of navigating life. And so the first word is the word work. Now, that one has been kind of a long time, actually the first 2 words have been a long time kind of project, if you will, of kind of not using them specifically in the ways that we traditionally use them. So I don't say I'm going to work or I have to work or I have to work next week. That doesn't come out of my mouth, and it really hasn't in a long time. I would have to say, even before having my business, I didn't say I have to go to work. And if I did, it was a slip or, kind of just that human nature of saying things that we have always known to say, or other people just naturally, that's something that probably almost everybody has said many a times in their life. But I don't use it in that regard. If I say the word work, it's probably like, oh, I'm working on a project, right? So for instance, if somebody were to ask me, what are you doing on Friday? What I do is work with clients, or I go to a photo shoot, or I have to edit. And instead of saying, oh, I have to work, I say exactly what I'm doing. So I'm like, oh, well, on Friday, I have a photo shoot in the morning, and then I'm going to be in the office for a few hours working behind the scenes, and you know where I'm going with that? So I kind of express it in a way of what I'm doing versus calling it work. And that might seem a little silly or woo-woo to some people, but to me, it does a couple of things. A, there's not this negative connotation that comes with the idea of work or a job or, right, that whole kind of sentiment. The other thing it does is opens up more conversation, which is a beautiful thing in life, right? If somebody who, let's say, is in my community or my network that doesn't know me as well, it might open conversations of, oh, hey, yeah, you know what? I'm really interested in that. I've actually really, wanted to know more about editing, for instance. I'm just using kind of trivial examples that make sense in my life. But you get what I'm saying? It kind of opens up those conversations, or, oh, I didn't really realize what you did. Can you tell me a little bit more? Or who do you work with? Or how do you support them? And in turn, then I can ask better questions with them, because if we start having these conversations that are a little bit more intentional and we have more facts right? So it's like just saying I'm going to work is very surfacey. What do? Right? And what if just these small little like minor shifts in our language could help us have better conversations with more people and make us feel more kind of in ownership and excited about what we do in this life. Even if you're like, I just go to my job and I leave and that's all, right? Like it's a means to an end and I go in and I do it. I don't care about it being exciting or fun. That's not even what it is. It's more about the mindset of, hey, like, what do you get to do on a daily basis? Do you help support people? Are you in IT? Like, what is it? People are curious about what everybody is doing and what makes people tick. And when we have these kind of more elaborate ways of saying it, it's so much more beautiful. I think, at least. I don't know. I like having conversations with people. I think it's interesting to know what they are all about, what they do. And so this word, kind of just taking out the word work, has done this for me in small doses, and it continues to do that. And then the other thing it does is, again, just remind us of the fact that the things that we do are important. We're not just here to work, pay bills, and move along, right? Sometimes it might feel like that, but that's not the only reason why we were here. It's not the only thing that we're meant to do. So the nuances of what we actually do can kind of invigorate our lives a little bit more. So that's the first word that I have just loved not having a part of my vocabulary. Before I had my own business, it used to be, oh, I have to go teach dance, or, oh, I have to go, right? I have to go to the studio. I had all these different ways of saying what I do. And so I want you to think about, like, what ways would you describe what you do on Tuesday, on Friday, next week? What projects you're working on? How can you describe your life or what you do in a different way, and see how that can kind of shape shift? And right, it's going to take time to kind of shift the way that you kind of operate, the way you answer questions. But I promise you, it's really kind of empowering, I suppose, to speak in this way versus like this close-ended way. Oh, I have to work. That is so close. It's like a close-ended answer, right? And so let's have more open-ended conversations, my friend. Okay, second word is, I'm looking down because I want to make sure I don't forget. I'm like, wait, these are the words, like, I'm so on autopilot with them that it's like, I'm like, what are they even? The other one is perfect. This one stems back specifically to my dance teaching and directing days, because we all know the old saying as practice makes perfect, and there is no such thing. It just isn't a thing that exists. What is perfect? It's different to everybody. In fact, it's kind of subjective, if you ask me. And so that word doesn't really hold much space or stock for me. And back in those days when I was teaching, I wanted my dancers to feel empowered. I wanted them to feel good about themselves. You could do a dance 13 times in a row, and every time's going to look a little bit different, right? You can do anything that is a task at hand and do it 13 times in a row, and it's going to look different. It is just it. What is perfect? There is no perfect. And so that word, because there's such this kind of high level expectations, like high stakes expectations of things in life and the way that we look and the way that we do and the way that we operate and what we produce, to be perfect, even though that doesn't even mean anything. What does it mean? I want to know, right? I don't know, right? In the reality, right? A dictionary, sure. Dictionary definition, whatever. I don't need or want that. I want to know what that really means in real life. And because there is really no such thing, we don't need the word, right? So practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes confident. Practice makes kind of repetition. There's other words we can add into it. Practice creates muscle memory. And this doesn't just go with dance, right? I'm using my own example, but what is that like, right? How do we expand that into different ways? What are other words we can replace the word with, right? Like, you're not perfect. Something's not perfect. It might be beautiful. It might be strong. It might be, wow, enlightening. So many other things, but again, it's another kind of expander. I want us to think, and I would love to hear some words that you might be able to kind of brainstorm that we could use instead of the word perfect, right? Because it comes out of our mouths. We hear it all the time, right? We hear it in this world of social media and all the things like, oh, they have the perfect life or they have the perfect skin or whatever. It's like, what? Okay. So I would love to hear some words for the replacements of perfect or just sentiments that we can kind of maybe expand upon when we think about that. For instance, like, right, like practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes something else, right? Practice makes confidence. Practice makes, I want to hear what your brain is kind of dreaming about now when we think about some of these words and what they have done to our psyches. Okay, so the last word, this is going to be a little bit silly, but just, it's the word just occurred to me recently. Actually, earlier this week, right before recording this. I mean, it's such a non-confrontational word, right? It's the word just. What does it really mean? It doesn't really evoke much emotion for most people, I would imagine. But I thought about it the other day and somebody said, oh, well, they're just a waitress. And I was like, wow, the word just really can kind of make somebody feel a little less than or take out kind of the larger, I don't know, existence of something or someone. And we use it a lot, right? Oh, well, you're just this, or you're just an assistant, you're just an X, Y, or Z. Or we might say, well, that's just okay, right? We use this word as kind of a in-between filler word that, in my opinion, kind of can sound condescending, even if you don't mean to make it feel condescending. And again, going back to me always wanting people to feel safe and comfortable and empowered. I don't want to just someone. I don't want to just myself. Well, I'm just a business owner. Well, I'm just whatever it is. And if we really think about it, we probably use that one the most, like in the most different ways, I should say. We use it in a varied manner, right? And so when it's just kind of coming out of our mouths, it's just natural, right? See, I just used it there. It's just natural. Did I really need that word though? I could have just said it's natural. Again, it's, to me, the bigger concern is when we're identifying people or things or experiences as using that, right? And so I'm still in kind of flux with that one because I just realized how much it kind of can form an emotion surrounding something or an idea about somebody. And I don't really like that. And so now I'm kind of on this quest to figure out how to eradicate that out of my vocabulary and figure out better ways of expressing the same sentiment. The sample, whatever, that I just said was one of those things where it works in certain nuances, but when it's descriptor, it just has this feeling. And now I keep saying it because I'm thinking about it too much. And it's part of the process of understanding what feels good in our minds, bodies, energies, and figuring out what makes the most sense for us. So when we're going about our conversations, when we're thinking about communication, it's a huge thing in our lives. From our significant others to our family, to our community, to our clients, to all the people. Communicating is powerful, and we have the ability to make others feel a myriad of ways. We have the power to make ourselves feel a myriad of ways. And what if we just became a little bit more cognizant of how we are speaking? Just in general. How are we speaking? What are we kind of promoting out of our mouths that can feel uplifting or keep us feeling a little bit lackluster, for lack of a better way of saying that? So I would love for us all to kind of play with this, See if these words are things that you use often. If you do, how do they make you feel? Right? It doesn't mean you have to go erase them out of your vocabulary too, but for me, it has felt really good. And it has opened up conversations. It has made things feel different. And I love that. I'm always looking to grow and expand. And for me, this is a very simple way. And this can snowball into other thoughts about the way we communicate and the way that we express ourselves and the way that we kind of have a magnetism about conversation. You know what I mean? If you ever go and you have kind of a uncomfortable experience with somebody at a store or a restaurant or whatever, the more that we hunker down into being right or wrong or, telling them like it is or all these things, the more negative the situation feels. Whereas when we communicate more clearly, clear as kind, more soft and kind of, hey, maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe some of the words I used weren't so helpful. We start to see it more. We start to evolve more. And the more we all are doing it, the more it's getting better for everybody else. Younger generations will pick up on our tendencies. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing. It seems like this little tiny seed in the ground, but what do little tiny seeds turn into? Plants, trees, all the things. And so as simple and kind of laughable as we could say this all is, it also is something that can be profound. And I hope that you feel that way after kind of thinking through some of this. And so let me know your thoughts. Let me know kind of what you're feeling about this whole idea of what our words can do to us, to the world around us. I would love to hear your just your thoughts on that. And I would love if you have any other words that we could bring to the table for food for thought that maybe aren't so supportive, that maybe aren't so helpful in creating kind of positivity and just mindfulness in our lives. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear. And for this week, just go off into your days feeling intentional about how you show up, about what you say, and about who you are kind of interacting with. And enjoy the process. Have some fun. And I can't wait to see you until next time.